Welcome back to Studio F, where on Fast Times Willy B, we'll be reviewing The First Omen. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Wrestle!
Welcome back to Fast Times with Willy B. I'm Willy B. I got Rosie back. Rosie, how we doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing good. Doing good. So today we'll be reviewing The First Omen, which is the sixth Omen movie in the franchise, but it is a prequel to the original 1976 film. So, you know, we had the original trilogy, and then we had that made-for-TV movie, and then we completely scrapped everything, did a remake that was less than stellar. And now we're going back to the roots and saying, let's make a prequel. And you've seen the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen all of them. And I can safely say that we have a lot of nicer things to say about this film than I would say about most of the films in this franchise outside of the first one.
Well, that's good.
The first few are good. I shouldn't say that. But the first one, obviously, we both agree. Great film.
Yes.
But this new one... directed by Arkasha Stevenson, a newer name. Didn't recognize any of her films, but a name to watch out for in horror, I'd say.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Pretty good, like, major feature, or major debut, I would say.
Yeah.
But she had a solid cast behind her. Not a lot of recognizable names. I'd say Bill Nye, not the science guy, but Bill Nye the actor.
That's unfortunate.
Is probably the biggest name on this list, and he played Cardinal Lawrence. Outside of that, Nell Tiger-Free is a name that some people know. She played our main character, Margaret. We had Ralph Ineson. He's also a somewhat recognizable name for big movie fans. He played Father Brennan, a younger Father Brennan. And then, well, not much younger, but
yes.
Damien's birth, Father Brennan.
Right.
And then Nicole Sourcey, I think her name was. Source. Nicole Source. She played Clarita, who we think is the mother.
Right.
But obviously, things go wild in this film.
Quite the plot twist.
We'll hop into the good first, and I would love to start with the opening shot and overall the atmosphere of this film. I thought it had a really good atmosphere. It felt kind of longer, like the pacing had some moments. I wouldn't say the pacing was bad or bad. I would still probably put it in the good for the most part. But they did a good job at making the atmosphere scary and eerie and unsettling the entire runtime.
Yeah. I think a lot of the Latin chorus work, same with the original.
Yeah.
I had a lot, it was very ominous. Definitely reminds me of going to church on Sundays with my grandparents, and it was... odd to hear those things again, because going to Catholic church on Sundays, it's a lot of the same Latin singing chorus lines, so yeah, kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah. The opening shot is almost like an aerial shot looking down into the town. It's a street and a tree, and I just love those atmospheric opening shots that horror movies have. The Exorcist did it really well.
It sets like a plot.
Yeah.
Kind of.
The Halloween movies always did it well with, you know, a fall shot in a neighborhood type of thing. So I love the opening shot. Onto, you know, you said the music and the Latin and all of that. The score was fantastic. I think it again went back to its roots. It reminded me of the first film a lot. I would still say the first score trumps it. But this was a great score. I thought it fit the entire movie, so I'd put the score in the good as well.
For sure.
The sound was great, too. The sound of the film, you know, in the high-tension moments, it helped with jump scares.
Yeah.
Really good job on the sound editing and overall just the sound in general.
There was a lot of times where I'm like, oh my gosh, this was like a really loud moment, but it had to be really loud, and then when it wasn't, it was more of like an intense moment. It kind of... you know, went back on itself, but definitely hit all the points, I think.
I would say the main good's the story.
Of course.
Usually when you get a prequel, you don't usually get a hit like this, I don't think.
Right.
I would say at least. They did a very good job at connecting it to the first film, making it all make sense.
For sure.
And letting us relive that first film if it started 20 minutes earlier, basically.
Yeah.
So we could, we could see that night where Damien is born and find out like the build up to all of it. And so basically Margaret, our main character, she's coming back to Rome to become a nun, and she makes a connection with Clarita, who is this bad child in the orphanage, and it leads her to looking. Father Brennan seeks her out, say there's something not right with Clarita. She finds the files, and all of a sudden Margaret is Clarita's older sister, right. And they're both the offspring of a jackal, and all of this.
Yeah. And
then Margaret's Damien's mother.
Right.
So it's all a whirlwind, because this whole time you're watching and you think Clarita is going to be the mother of Damien.
For sure.
But then you're like, well, that doesn't make sense, because they're in 1971 and she's a little girl. Not a little girl, but she's, she's got to be like 11 or 12.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, for sure.
So I don't know how you felt, but the whole time I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense. Yeah, how's this going to work?
For sure.
I mean, anytime you get unholy, demonic genre, things can work no matter.
For sure.
You can make things work.
Yes,
that's just how the genre is. But no, a twist, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
Finding out that Margarita is the mother, but I liked it. I thought the story it moved along really well. It all made sense. It all connected. The full circle moment at the end when you find out, how Paula was connected to it, how all of the sisters were connected to it. Like, just everything came together in that third act. And I really like this story a lot.
I really like a prequel when you can watch the prequel and then immediately right after watch the original. Mm-hmm. That's how well I think the third act connected to the beginning of the original. And I wasn't expecting that. Because there was a couple false endings. Yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh, is it going to end like this? Like, we haven't even figured anything out. But I really thought we could have came home and watched the original, and it would have just flown all right together. Yeah. Which is really great. So I think they did a really good job of playing connect the dots and finding all the missing pieces that we all kind of had questions about watching the original.
For sure. Two of the scenes that really stuck out to me, I'll go in order of how they went. The first one is the birth of the jackal.
Yeah, that was quite graphic. I was not prepared for that.
If you have a weak stomach, this movie is definitely not for you. A lot of body horror. Yeah. A lot of Perth horror.
Yes.
But if you're a mother expecting, definitely don't watch this. But, the scene of the jackal being born, we kind of get like these close shots where you're like, oh my God, are we going to see this birth happen? Like they kind of like cut it close. You're like, there's no way they're going to do that. And like you're just watching this mom who gets drugged and she's smiling. Like it almost reminds you of Smile.
Yes.
And it's super eerie, super unsettling. Then all of a sudden you're watching the birth straight on, and a jackal's hand comes out. And I feel like for some people this is going to be a turnoff for them when watching this film. But for me, yes, albeit disgusting, like, something you don't want to watch. But it works with this movie so well in creating, again, that tension, the unsettling, eerie, gut-wrenching feel that they're trying to make you feel. I think they did it perfectly.
It definitely makes sense for the movie. If it wouldn't have made sense, it would have not worked 100%. At all. Yeah. But it definitely had its moment to shine. I was not expecting it.
No, neither was I.
To be so graphic. But I thought it was well done, and it had a reason. Yeah. So, for that.
It was tasteful.
I agree. So, I think that's definitely in the good.
Another scene that stuck out to me as far as, like, that tension, and that's the tension building, I should say. That's the scene where she's looking for the files in the basement while her roommate's becoming a nun. Right. So, all of, the sisters are up there doing their ritual, and her roommate's becoming a nun, and she's down in the basement looking for these files to figure out more information on Clarita and all this, and she finds like 14 different files, and they just keep cutting back and forth between the ritual and downstairs ritual. The lights are flickering in the basement, and this whole scene, you're just on the edge of your seat, like, is she going to get caught? Is there's something in that room with her, and that whole scene I thought was done really well as well.
I think so too, and I just want to know how she was able to get out of get out of the church where they were having the ceremony for her roommate. I want to know how
without anybody seeing her run out or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have liked to seen how she did that.
Yeah.
But other than that, I really thought it was good. She used the context clues because Dr. Brennan, I believe, said
Father Brennan.
Yes, Dr. said that the master nun or the lady that runs the orphanage, she had them under lock and key.
Yeah.
So she did some digging and looking around, and she closed the drawer, and she heard the key rattle.
Yeah.
And then she thought something was off with that painting because it was kind of off.
Yeah.
So she definitely was pretty smart looking for that.
Yeah, that whole scene was probably my favorite scene in the movie. I thought that was like peak tension, peak you're locked in.
Yeah, definitely.
And that takes us into our third act. I thought it was a really good transition from, she gets locked into the bad room, and then Father Gabriel helps her out. He has the papers. They go see Father Brennan, and that's when you find out she was like the fifth child of 14, and
that's so crazy.
That's when the twists and turns start happening. I thought it was a really good scene that transitioned us into a wild third act. I thought the third act was phenomenal.
Yes. Did she not know? Mm-mm. That's so crazy.
Yeah. Imagine going your whole life having 666 birthmark on your head.
That's crazy. And then that's the same place that Damien has his.
Well, Damien's is more in the back of his head.
Well, I know, but it's it's somewhere
more noticeable.
Yeah. Like in the pictures, you could see it blatantly on their body, but I thought it was kind of...
makes sense because Damien's is her son.
Yeah, so it's true.
But the third act was great.
I agree.
I mean, this movie overall was a great watch.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the visual effects were good, both visual and practical. And there was a lot more VFX, I think, but a scene that stuck out with me as far as effects goes, the Palo death, when he gets hit by the car and
oh my gosh,
she pulls him out and only pulls half of him out.
That was
unexpected. Done really well. But anytime there was body horror or anything like that, when she's in the bad room and the sister that committed suicide comes out of the corner, like that was done really well. Everything in makeup and effects and all of that was done really well. Speaking of the sister that killed herself, I like that scene a lot. Paid homage to the original. She says, "It's all for you," lights herself on fire and then jumps off. It's a little different than the original because the original, obviously, she doesn't light herself on fire. She says, "Damien, it's all for you." I like that they didn't say a name because when you're watching that scene, you're thinking, oh, she's talking to Clarita. But after watching it, I'm like, maybe she was talking to Margaret when she said, "It's all for you." Because she knows. And that's why I really like that she didn't say a name.
Oh, I see.
So that scene actually had added value once the movie ended, that she didn't say a name and say, "It's all for you." She just said, "It's all for you." And she's looking down at a pile of people. So.
Right, could be anybody.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Just another little nod. Yeah. That little extra bonus for this movie that I liked, for sure.
I liked it, for sure.
We can go on and on with the good. This movie has a lot to like about it. Is there anything you'd like to add of value in this good section?
I would agree with everything.
Performances.
Oh, yes.
There wasn't a bad performance.
Oh, my gosh. They were great, I thought.
Nell Tiger Free was fantastic.
I think everyone did a fabulous job.
The scene when she's becoming pregnant.
Yes. I'm sure the devil or whoever is taking over her after that car wreck, that was, intense, for sure.
She was definitely the standout.
Well,
I mean, it's not always the main actor that has to be the standout.
That's true. She definitely...
The supporting character can steal the show. It's happened before. But this was her show.
For sure.
And nobody was stealing the light.
Yeah. I think I'd agree with all the good.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the meh. There's a few things in the meh category for me. The first I would put is they did try to pay homage in another way very early in this film. This is after that opening shot. Father Brennan's confessing, and when he comes out of the church, he's having a conversation, and it keeps cutting back to the stained glass and the pole, and you're reminded of Father Brennan's death in the original movie.
Right.
How the pole comes down and impales him, and all the glass impales him. And when one of the glass breaks, you see the glass falling, and then one of the poles fall, and it kind of like nicks the guy he's talking to in the back of the head.
Mm-hmm.
You don't notice it till he turns around. He's like, "I'm fine," and there's just a chunk of his like head and back missing. I was not the biggest fan of that scene.
Mm-hmm.
I put it in the meh because I like what they were trying to do. It's
right.
just I thought it was kind of a weak tie-in to the original. I thought it was a weak homage pay. I get it. You're foreshadowing Father Brennan's death in that way, but I don't know. I was like, what are the odds that happens twice? That's one thing. And the second, I don't know if I liked how the pole kind of just cut the guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was weird to me.
Yeah, I would agree. It was, I mean, again, visually well done. And but I definitely would put it in the meh.
Yeah.
But it was a good start. Let's say that.
For sure. The other meh I have is the club scene. No, the reason I don't put this in the bad again is because it makes sense moving the story along. It's how he meets Paolo, or she meets Paolo. But I don't know. It felt like it didn't fit in an Omen movie.
Definitely not. But I do think it tied her and her roommate together.
Yeah. Made them closer for sure.
I think that her roommate was trying to have her last hurrah before
she becomes a nun.
She became a nun for real. So I think maybe we could have done without it. Mm-hmm. But I definitely think we definitely know why it's in there for sure. It's not like a big question mark.
No, that's what I mean. That's why I put it in the bad, not the bad.
Agree.
It makes sense why it's in there. It just felt out of place for an Omen movie.
Yeah.
That's just me nitpicking, I guess.
Yeah.
I feel like there's another way you could have tied them all in together without it being these sisters with cleavage and dancing in a nightclub.
And I also think it was because her roommate was the one that was becoming the nun during the most intense part of this. So it's showing like how she really changed her life around.
For sure.
Before that happened. So I don't know. I would put it in the meh as well. Yeah.
Other than that, I don't really have anything in the meh.
Yeah, I am. The only thing I think I might have is towards the end, once Margaret gives birth to both of her children, and they light the basement on fire. And then Clarita comes and saves them, the baby and Margaret. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah. At all. And then they went and like had a house and everything was like perfectly normal, which I would want to do too if I was trapped, But I think I wasn't prepared for that.
For sure. I think they did a good job of cleaning it up, though. I think the scene we get at the end where Father Brennan says, they're coming for you, is to insinuate that they all get killed. And when they make the grave sites that we see in the original movie, they put Ambassador Thorne's babies with the head smashed in. Maybe it's not his baby. Maybe, well, the girl's all grown up. So what I took from it is that they never buried any of those three. I think what they did is they got the jackal from the basement and buried it in the mom's grave and Clarita's grave. And then they buried the Thorne baby in the other grave. And then I think they just did away with the bodies of those three is kind of what I got from Father Brennan saying they're coming after you.
Yeah.
So that's why in the original film, when they take the grave off the mom and it's a jackal's bones, they're like, oh my God, the mom was a jackal. I mean, technically, the dad was, but I don't know. That's what I took from it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it might need another watch.
Yeah.
For some of the things to sink in.
Yeah. I liked it a lot.
For sure.
I don't have anything in the bad.
Yeah, I was trying to think of, something, because I know they can't always be perfect.
Well, it's not perfect. We have meh.
Well, yeah, but...
There doesn't have to be a bad...
But there very rarely is a movie where there's any... Yeah. There's no bad.
I thought this was really well done.
I think so, too.
We can move on to our final thoughts and ratings then. What do you want to leave off with this film, and what do you give it out of 10?
I thought it was pretty good. Really good, actually. Mm-hmm. Sometimes prequels are a flop.
Yeah. A lot of times.
A lot of times. But I really...
Pet Sematary Bloodlines.
I think that this is one of the very few films, like I said in the beginning, with the good part of the story, that you can watch the prequel and the original back-to-back, seconds in between, and the story just keeps chugging right along. I can't, off the top of my head, think of any prequel that does that, where it's like... Yeah. It just falls right in line.
For sure.
So that would be my final thought. And also, of course, acting. Everyone was fabulous. I can't think of any... part in particular that I thought they all had. The nuns were all nun-like and very sturdy, and
until we get to their darker side.
Well, yeah. Sure. Well, that's how nuns are. They're very like straight to the point, and they don't really show much emotion. So, I thought everyone did a great job. That's my final thought.
What do you give it out of 10?
I think I'm going to give it a 9.
A 9? Okay.
Yeah.
So you like this one a lot. What did you give the original?
I think I may have gave that one an 8.
Okay.
Just for pacing issues.
Okay.
It did take me 2 days to watch. Because fair. I am a procrastinator. But I kind of would like to maybe, once this one is on a streaming service, I'm sure the rest of them are on Hulu. Yeah. So I'm sure maybe this one will follow along. I would like to sit down and watch the prequel and then watch them back to back. Yeah. And then maybe my ideas might change. But if I can't sit down and watch a movie straight on, it kind of loses some points, because I was like, okay, we got to take a break and we'll come back to this tomorrow. That's fair. Yeah. But 8 is still a great score, because I'm pretty picky. Yeah. For me, the First Omen, this one, I'm going 8.5. Okay. I liked it a lot. Mm-hmm. There are some minor flaws. I put the pacing in the good, but there are some things here and there. But like, once we get into the second act, it is busy, balls to the wall. Yeah. So I'm gonna go 8.5 on it. I think it's my third favorite film of the year so far, behind Dune Part 2 and Late Night with the Devil. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's too far behind those ones. But I gave the original a 9, so I do like this a little bit less than the original. Mm-hmm. I'm a sucker for a 70s, 80s, 90s film, you know. So the atmosphere did a little more for me there. And then, you know, the things that they took from the original and put in this one to pay homage, they were original back then. So I give them a little bonus. That's true. And for 76, the body horror was also great. In the original Omen. But nonetheless, I think the First Omen is the second best movie in this franchise. Mm-hmm. If I had to rank them, I'd go 76, the original. Then I'd go the First Omen. And then I would go 2, 3, the remake from 06, and then The Awakening, which is the fourth one. It was made for television. You can tell. Yeah, I don't think that the remake from 2006 is much better, though. The remake from 06 was... Is that the one that's shot for shot, pretty much? Yeah. Even, like, I walked in and it's less scary. It, and it was, like, line for line, because I had just downstairs finished watching the original when I walked up and you were watching it, and I was like, did I not just hear this whole conversation exactly word for word how it is? Yeah, it wasn't great. But I think the original trilogy and this prequel are a fun 4-movie watch. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I think the prequel and the original are much better films than 2 and 3, but I think, like you said, once this comes out, I'd like to do a 4-movie watch with them. Just kind of scrap 4 and 5, 4 in the remake. But I like this one a lot. Again, 8.5. And I'm happy that we got this film, because we were just talking about on the last episode you were on with Sting. Horror has been a little underwhelming this year so far. Outside of Lisa Frankenstein and Late Night with the Devil, we've gotten a lot of these like cheesy horror movies like Night Swim, Imaginary, Sting. Yeah. To see something
as good as this.
Yeah.
Was refreshing.
For sure. I agree.
That'll do it for the First Omen. Thank you, Rosie, for coming on. I appreciate you whenever you come on.
You know, I always review a movie.
For sure.
Not always.
Not always, but we know you're still counting down to September.
I will review a horror movie any day.
For sure. But thank you all for watching again. If you like what you're watching, check out some of these other videos. Hit the subscribe button or follow the social links down below. Again, we thank you all for watching, and we will talk to you all soon. Peace.
Peace and love.